And we'll go through a little bit of what happened because we address some major themes and some particulars. But if you need information on whether or not the world is going to be exploding before our very eyes, stay tuned. 2 to 3 East Coast time every day, TrentoVision.tv, from now until the end of November and hopefully more after that. And 1470 WNNAM on your AM radio. And you could even use your little iHeartRadio deal. Well, let me tell you this. The number. When we start taking calls, and we'll have a guest from Israel, and you want to call in, if you go to TrentoVision.tv, if you have a computer, you'll see right under my picture there, right under the live screen, you'll see the call-in number. If you're just listening and you're in an automobile, the call-in number is 888-888-565-1470. So those folks who want to call in a little while, it's 888-565, and then the call numbers for the station, 1470. I want to show you, ladies and gentlemen, for the listening audience, a fascinating commercial. You know things are heating up when the Prime Minister of Israel finds his way to a commercial in the United States of America. And this commercial started running this morning in Florida. I saw it. And we have a copy for you. And then I'm going to bring in a person who knows a lot about this stuff from Philadelphia. So first, Mark, let's show everybody the commercial starring Bibi Netanyahu. Listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen.
The fact is that every day that passes, Iran gets closer and closer to nuclear bombs. The world tells Israel, wait, there's still time. And I say, wait for what? Wait until when?
The world needs American strength, not apologies.
The fact is that every day that passes, Iran gets closer and closer to nuclear bombs. The world tells Israel, wait, there's still time. And I say, wait for what? Wait until when?
The world needs American strength, not apologies.
Okay, well, the listening audience heard that, and the viewers saw it. And let's bring in by Skype. We have Lori Lowenthal Marcus, a Zionist warrior for sure, a wonderful friend, attorney, and a whole bunch of other things. Lori, welcome to Trento Vision here in beautiful South Florida. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
She needs to tilt her screen down a little bit.
Tilt your screen down a little bit, our director is telling us.
Okay. Good. Perfect.
We were looking at your ceiling, maybe. I don't see her shot yet.
I'm postponing it.
It's coming up, so the worldwide audience can see you as you speak, Lori. Tell us who you are, who you represent, and you sent out a release regarding this particular commercial this morning. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I thought it was really interesting that there was an entire ad in a U.S. presidential race that didn't include any Americans, didn't include anybody running for office, and was all about Prime Minister Netanyahu warning the world about what's happening in Iran and what dangers will befall us if action isn't taken.
And who are you? Tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, so they know a little bit about what I know about you.
Okay, well, let's see. I am now the U.S. correspondent for the Jewish Press. I've been involved with monitoring the news and analyzing the news coming out of the Middle East for about a dozen years. I had a radio show for a long time on the Middle East News Report. I write lots of columns. I've been in local, national, and international press. And I founded and was president of Z Street, which is also an international Zionist organization.
Plus, she's a lot better looking than you are, Tom.
Yeah. She's, Mark was commenting saying, you're better looking than I am. She's based you're in Philadelphia, correct?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I miss you guys out there. Haven't been there for a while. Couple of things. What do you think the crisis control room, the brain room at the White House, which probably the crisis control room is probably on the Fifth Green, down at Pebble Beach or something. What do you think, Jay Carney and the boys for the president, what do you think they're thinking when they saw that commercial?
Well, a word came to mind, but I don't think I should say it on the air.
Okay.
Look, it's unusual to have any leader of another country, and certainly such a close ally as Israel, being used in an ad for someone running for office against the incumbent. But the truth is, Prime Minister Netanyahu has tried, apparently repeatedly, to get President Obama and the rest of his administration on board with the idea that even if you think the military option is the last option, we're there. It's the time now. You can't wait until after the fact to engage at a level where it really will have the intended consequences. So I think they're unhappy, for sure, as they should be. But, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah, and we need to make it clear that this commercial using the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu's images, the organization is, I think it's Secure Change. Was that the name of the...
Secure America Now.
Oh, Secure America Now. I don't know anything about them, but they certainly don't like the president's view of foreign policy. Well, I've been at both APACs past 2 years, the infamous one in 2010 or 11, whenever that was, the Green Line one, where all the Jewish people, and I happen to be a Christian, as you know, were going to get up and walk out on the president when he spoke. But by the time he left the back of the stage, the curtains, and got to the podium and did his little soiree down and smiling and waving that hand the way he waves it, the AIPAC Jewish people were melting in their seats in admiration for this guy, Lori Lowenthal. Marcus, why do Jewish people, why are they mesmerized, hypnotized, sanitized by this president? What is going on?
Look, he is a very appealing person to liberals, and most Jews are liberals. He is an extremely smart, by any measure, individual. He is extremely liberal. He is supportive of reproductive rights, which, as you know, Tom, is one of the major commandments from God, according to most liberals. And they cannot help themselves. I was speaking with someone the other day who said, this is just like Camelot. This is just like with Jack Kennedy, when people just lost their minds and could not control themselves. In a way, it also is evocative of the response to Bill Clinton, but it's extraordinary, the response to Barack Obama. And I think there is such a fear on the part of Jews to be seen as racist that they cannot allow themselves to really question the sincerity of President Obama with respect to Israel. Lots of Jews also say that Israel is not their first issue, not their primary issue, but what I don't understand is why the security of their children isn't their first issue. And in that regard, you also could not be considering, losing your ability to stand when you're next to Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Tom, you brought up a great point in the debate last night between, they said, why would you choose Romney versus Obama? And you said that Romney was a very close friend to Netanyahu. Can you expand on that?
Well, yeah, last night, Lori, we had, I think you covered one of them. You covered the second debate that went went off the rails at the JCC. But we had the fourth debate last night. And one of the questions was, which president is better for Israel? And I answered that part of the global politic, part of what makes the world run, are individual personal relationships, and there's a deep friendship, a true long-term, active, vital personal relationship between Netanyahu and Mitt Romney, where conversely, the president and the prime minister don't even like each other. They can't stand each other. But I still have many Jewish people telling me, Barack Obama is the best thing that ever happened for Israel. He's the best thing that... How do you answer that, Lori? I only got about a minute left with you. How do you answer the question, Barack Obama is the best person ever for the state of Israel?
Look, you look at the talking points for the Democrats with respect to Obama being good for Israel. One, aid is greater than it ever has been. That's true, but it has nothing to do with Barack Obama. It has to do with Congress. Two, he has stood up forcefully at the United Nations and defended Israel. Excuse me, that's ridiculous. He is not. The fact that the Palestinian state unilateral move even got to the floor of the Security Council is evidence of failed diplomacy. Every single one of their talking points is completely deflatable, but for some reason, we're not getting our word out enough. We need to make it clear. We need to take the 5 talking points that they have and deflate them one by one and make sure we keep repeating them.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's excellent direction and information from somebody who knows in the city of brotherly shove. If you have that bucket list I refer to all the time, make sure you put Philadelphia on it. Get to Independence Hall, spend some time there. Fascinating city, birthplace of our liberty in many respects. And if you go, you can be a guest at Lori's house. She's a great cook. Everything will be wonderful. She'll take care of you. A nice Jewish mother. She'll feed you, and you'll love it. Right, Lori?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll check in every once in a while with you, see how things are going up there. 47 days. That's what we have left. Tell your friends about our show, Trento Vision. It's on every day, 2 to 3 East Coast time. We're dealing with national security issues with the state of Israel, and our objective is to educate Americans so they vote intelligently on November 6th, and that means they vote against Barack Obama. Okay? Bye, Lori. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now, it is kind of strange to see a commercial on U.S. TV with the Prime Minister of another country essentially criticizing this administration. But folks, that's the situation that we have. That's the world we're living in because the stakes are so very high. Our next guest, are we ready with him?
Not yet. Still trying to get hold of him.
Okay, we are trying to put an overseas connection together. Why don't we go to? Should I go to Alan? I can go to Alan.
Yeah, you can go on to the. Go on.
Let me.
Go to Alan. Do the Alan piece.
Okay. CJ, can you get Alan Bergstein on the line? Or Alan, if you're listening, Alan, call in. You were going to call in a little later. We'll just switch things around. Bring you in now, and you and I will talk about the debate that took place last night, and tell the folks where they can see it. If you want to see the debate, what's happening? She's calling. Okay.
She doesn't have it. Okay, so.
Well, give me my phone, and I'll send it to her.
Okay.
Okay. Alan, I think you're listening. If you are, just call in our high-tech system here. We'll make it all work. But last night we had a fourth, as I said, a fourth of 4 debates. I guess a fourth of 4 would be right? And it was Alan Bergstein. Those of you who watch the show know who Alan is. He's a great guy. I'm going to send a message right now to CJ, and she can give Alan a call. Here's the setting. I'll set it up for you. The goal of these debates for the past 2 months started in May, June, July, 4 months. We've had about one debate every month. And for the record, folks, I am sitting in Boca Raton, Florida right now, which is the southern edge of Palm Beach County. Just a few feet away is the northern edge of Broward County, a little town of Deerfield Beach. And if you go through Broward County, you go into Miami-Dade County. Well, these three counties, Palm Beach to the north, Broward in the center, Miami-Dade to the south, these three counties comprise, I think it's something like 4 or 5 million people and over 500,000 Jewish people in these counties. And everyone is within the sound of our voice here. And we put a series of debates together over the past 4 months to get 2 skilled Democrats and 2 skilled Republicans, myself and Alan on the Republican side, and whoever they can coddle together on the Democrat side. And we had a series of debates, and we dealt with the economy and Social Security and Medicare and all of that. Well, as the months progressed, May, June, the global situation decreased dramatically, and national security came roaring to the forefront. As a result of that, I'm going to bring Alan on now. I got Alan, so he's going to have to wait a little while.
Okay.
That'll be
All right.
the best thing. As a result of that, we all our debates sort of focused on national security and the situation with Israel. And the one last night was really a very interesting one. And I'll let our guest, Alan Bergstein, are you on the line, my friend?
Yes, I am, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Great. No. Are you kidding me? It's our honor to have a Brooklyn boy here on the line with us. And our debate partner, we're kind of getting used to this, aren't we, Alan?
Well, not only are we getting used to it, but we find that the Democrats are running. They are fearful of having us confront them, and I don't understand that. Totally fearful of us confronting them.
Is it because we're so good? Is that the reason?
Well, it's not that we're so good. It's that
Hey, speak for yourself, okay?
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
it's not that it's not that they're really afraid of us. It's like Dracula being faced with sunlight. When they get into the room,
We're the sunlight, if you didn't get the metaphor, ladies and gentlemen. The
we are
Democrats, Dracula, starts with a D.
you know, they are.
He has great one-liners, doesn't he?
He does.
He's got great one-liners.
They're fearful of listening to the truth. In fact, last night and the other debate, if you remember, there were very few Democrats in attendance. I think personally that they've been told, don't you dare go to these debates. We tell you not to go to these debates, and if you're seen walking into these debates, you'll be thrown out of the card game and into the pool. Because the debate last night was 95% our supporters, 95% Jews and Christians who support us, and the Democrats were not in attendance. What does that mean? Does that mean that the atmosphere is changing, that we're winning voters, Jewish voters over? I think that's the case.
You know, it's very interesting. These were all highly publicized debates. They were publicized in the public arena. These are 2 high-profile Democrats. You would think they would have a following. Now, there was a following in debate number 2, where it went off the rails, and the crazies on the Democrat side just went insane. I mean, really crazy stuff. So you may be right. The big bosses, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and President Obama, must have said, hey, keep it quiet down there. Ignore those debates. Well, what did you think? I only have a couple of minutes with you, Alan. What did you think some of the highlights were in terms of the viewer sitting at home who maybe is undecided and they were watching the screen? Objectively, what points were made that would be helpful to somebody pulling the lever in 47 days?
Well, I would say that last night you and I, gave the obvious answers that people want to know. Why is this Obama administration falling apart? We gave them facts and figures, numbers, the unemployment numbers, the people who are on food stamps, the people who are leaving their jobs, and the number of firms that are going out of business. We told people the truth, and the people in the audience sat and understood it. We told them that Obama is basically a Pinocchio president. He is leading a party that can do nothing but lie. We pointed out to them that Susan Rice, in the aftermath of the Benghazi event, lied to us and said that this was an impromptu demonstration based on the innocence of Islam, the movie trailer, when in fact they had received warnings beforehand that this was going to take place. We told the group that our embassies are basically without protection. The Marines, wherever the Marines are, they are told to have unlocked and empty weapons. So we told them the truth, and the people walked away saying, these guys, they're telling us the truth. The two Democrat guys, Jack Shafrel and Rabbi Silva, were just giving the mantra, the Democrat mantra, but they could not get beneath the veneer of that mantra. They just know words, but they can't tell why those words are true. You and I spoke to these people. I hate to say it, we spoke eloquently. I listened to you, and we spoke passionately, and we spoke truthfully. They cannot take those three things. They cannot take the truth. And the Democrats, some of them did walk out, if you remember, during the meeting yesterday. They cannot stand it. Someone opened up the roof and the sunlight poured in, and then it turned to dust. So they can't take it.
All very, very good points, and I think we are going to try to put more of these together. I'll put the word out publicly many times on the air right here on Trento Vision. But right now, I got to let you go because we finally got our transatlantic connection. And Alan Bergstein, if you are by a computer, watch and listen to my next guest. We're going to talk about Israel.
I love you, crew, and everything you do.
You take care, man. We love you too. Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching the bottom of the hour here on the 20th of September in Boca Raton, Florida. Tom Trento with the team. Trento Vision is the name of the show. TrentoVision.tv, where you'll get all the information you need to figure out how to survive in an upside-down world. And one of the ways you can do that is to listen very, very, very carefully to our next guest. He's a dear friend. He is an expert in his field of national security and intelligence. He's operating in a theater that is the bullseye for anything Persian, anything Arab that has explosives connected to it. Everybody's got Israel targeted, that are the enemies of Israel. And I'd like to welcome our good friend Mark Kohlberg. Mark, are you there? Can you hear me?
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, everybody.
We were going to try to Skype you, but I guess we had a little problem with the...
We're Skyping him, actually.
Yeah, we're Skyping the audio, but they wanted to see your pretty face, Mark. I promised them. But
well, I tell you what, I have a couple of Facebook pages.
Well,
they can take a look at the MKISC and see my pretty face.
Okay.
On the Facebook.
All right, you can do that. We're putting stuff up as you speak, and not only can you see Mark Kohlberg's pretty face on Trento Vision, you can see it in person because, Mark, I think before we get into the details, you have another fascinating briefing going on like we participated back in February. When is your next one?
Well, thanks for asking, Tom. We do these programs, as you know, you were a witness in February, that we really take our people here, our guests and delegates behind the scenes and show them what the media and what the press doesn't report. We take our people here in December. We will be going from the 9th to the 15th of December. A lot of people will ask, maybe you'll even ask me, say, well, Mark, December, isn't things a little bit difficult just after the elections? Iran, I don't think people have really much to worry about. We are going ahead. We are doing our program. People will come here. We will have the delegates see Israel from a perspective that they normally wouldn't see as a tourist. In fact, many Israelis won't see what we can show, and we have the privilege of showing a very different perspective, Tom. I think you would agree. People can have a look at our gallery just to get an idea of what we're allowed to advertise at the www.iscisrael.com. Everybody's invited. We are rock bottom prices. No one can beat our prices. We look after our people, 5-star treatment all the way. People are welcome.
Yeah, no, it was a tremendous program. The one we went on was for law enforcement primarily, and we went on and went behind the scenes, went into, you know what, we'll do a show on that. We have so much material on that. We'll do a show in the future. But right now, what we want to do is we're reading reports that the IDF called up reserves in an unannounced way, and many of the intelligence analysts in the U.S. are going, oh, what's going on? Can you give us a feel for what the situation is on the ground in Israel right now in terms of the imminence of war with Iran?
Tom, before I go into there, and that's probably going to be the focus of our discussion today and analysis, I just want to go back a little bit and tell people that I served not only in the South African Army, compulsory in those years, not by choice but by force. It was a compulsory service. I then served in the Israeli Defense Force, and then I also served as a career police officer, where I got to know you through a very good friend by the name of Jim Gort in South Florida, and you know today Brian Smith, who is with MKISC, and these are two people that have witnessed the change, and these are two people that can testify and tell the listeners, perhaps it's a good idea for you to maybe interview these people in the future, exactly what I said back in 2005 and 2007, and then again in 2008. It's almost, I'm not a psychic. I can't read into the future, otherwise I'd probably be a millionaire, because I'd go to the casinos and win all the time, or do the lottery, whatever. But what's happening today with Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt is something that I said, not in the exact way it's playing out, but we in Israel basically since 1948 have been going through wars and terror. In the latter years we've had much more terror than war, and when we've had wars it's only because we've had to defend ourselves. Therefore the name, the Israeli Defense Force. And I think today, by looking at the international media, we can see that now, only now, is the West perhaps waking up a little bit, because Britain, France, and the United States have said openly in the United Nations today that Iran's time is up. Now, a lot of people are going to use different philosophies, they're going to say different things, they're going to take those words, Iran's time is up, and they're going to say, oh, Armageddon, and they're going to scream blue murder, or they're going to say, well, Iran's going to back down and be a nice little puppy dog, and, you know, so, well, there we go, we're going to go and take our shoe back to our master's corner and keep quiet. No, I think that the situation is heating up. I think that the West has had enough. I think that we've seen that Iran has openly come out and said, well, we lied to the nuclear committee that goes in and checks on what they're supposed to be doing as far as the nuclear things are concerned. But we have to be prepared in Israel. You see, we won't make the same mistakes as we did in 1973. And we won't make the same mistakes as we did in 1967.
Yeah.
1973 being the Yom Kippur War, which we're approaching next week.
Yep.
So we are not going to be surprised. You also have on Yom Kippur in New York a very distinguished, if I say that without respect, the president of Iran stepping into American territory, coming into the United States, speaking at the United Nations, denying there was ever a Holocaust, denying that there's no homosexuality in Iran, threatening to get rid of Israel, exterminate the Israeli people. But he still comes in, and he's a sponsor of terror. He's a sponsor of huge money and arms and weapons of terrorists and terror organizations. Why isn't he arrested for war crimes?
Great question. I mean, we're asking the same question here, but he's got a better chance of having dinner at the White House than being arrested for a parking ticket in the United States right now. It's simply unbelievable what's going on. We're going to be there, by the way.
I think,
We will be welcoming President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the Iranian president, the 12er, the John the Baptist to the Mahdi in many respects. We'll be welcoming the president of Egypt, Mohammed Morsi. Next week, we're taking our team on the road, Mark, to broadcast the show from Washington, and then from New York first, and then from Washington. But tell us a little bit about what's going on in the Sinai. We're hearing strange things, and there's a press blackout. Is there a low-grade war going on there, or what's going on?
Tom, the Sinai is a piece of land that Israel returned to Egypt after a war. We took the land after a battle, after we were attacked, and that piece of land has been pretty much quiet to a large extent over the years since Israel signed a peace treaty with Egypt's Sadat. But I'd just like to go back a little bit in the Iranian question. No one here in Israel wants war. I don't think any sane person in the world wants war. I think in Israel we've seen our fair share of bloodshed and carnage and chaos. Personally, I've seen a lot of that. You've been through a tour of terror with me personally, and I think we want to put that to bed. But I think that we also need to understand that it doesn't matter who we're dealing with in the world of radicalism, that they have a mission, they have an ambition, they have a belief, and they're not going to stop at anything to try and get what they want. And by giving a finger, they have taken our arm in Israel. We've given them back Gaza, we've given them parts of Judea and Samaria, we've given the Sinai back to them, to the Egyptians, and they just want more and more and more and more. This is not going to end peacefully. Unfortunately, I wish it would. But it's not going to end peacefully, and I think that perhaps, like any strategy in military policing, the best form of defense is really attack. The Sinai Peninsula, Tom, is it's an area where we've had to again fence ourselves in, just like you saw us fencing ourselves in from other areas, neighbors in this region. We've had to build a fence along the Sinai Egyptian border with Israel. So we're basically fencing ourselves in and, just defending ourselves. And that's not good enough. We've put ourselves in a very, I would say, precarious position, because how much more fencing in can we do? We're going to finally find ourselves in a cage if this carries on. So
Yes, indeed.
I think, carry on.
Yeah, we saw the engagement of Israel with the fences. Everybody thinks you're trying to keep the bad guys out, and to some extent, obviously, that's why it's there. But really, it's prohibiting movement of Israelis in their own country. We have an individual on the line. In fact, one of the individuals you mentioned earlier, so he's watching our show. I'm going to bring him on. He has a question for you, Mr. Jim. Are you there, Jim?
I am, Tom. How are you, my friend?
Hey, doing very, very well. You keeping America safe from the commie hordes coming on the shores of Florida?
I'm doing what I can, Tom. I'm only one guy.
Okay, Jim's a good friend of ours, a police officer, SWAT team leader, all of that. We've been on a SWAT exercise with Jim and Mark not too long ago, and Mark and Jim are very good friends, and Jim's been to Israel with Mark, all of that. But Jim, you have a question for your good friend Mark?
Yeah, Mark. Mark, how are you, my friend? Happy New Year, by the way.
You can't hear him.
Mark, Jim said Happy New Year. We have him on a different line here.
Hello?
Thank you. I thank you very much. And to all my Jewish friends in the United States, I really hope we have a happy, and for all of us, not only my Jewish friends, my Christian friends, my Muslim friends, all my friends, we should really have a safe and secure year ahead. I hope we do.
All right, Jim, what's your question? If he can't hear you, I'll ask it.
Oh, Tom, if you could relay it, I think what I wanted to ask Mark about, and I think what might be important for us to know over here, is in the event, and I think it's probably more likely than not that Israel will be forced to strike out at Iran. What could we expect the ripple effect here in the United States? You know, does he feel that they'll use maybe Hezbollah by proxy or some other attacks here? I guess what I'm asking is, from his expert analysis, what can we expect here in the United States should they send F-16s over there?
Did you hear that, Mark?
No.
Well, Jim, the question is this for the viewing and listening audience, and you're at Trento Vision TV, WNN 1470 in Boca Raton. It's about 20 minutes to the top of the hour in beautiful Florida, and we have Jim, a police officer, South Florida police officer, on the line with Mark Kohlberg, a counterterrorism expert in Israel. The question for our listeners and viewers, Jim, the police officer in the U.S., and his job obviously is to keep the peace. He wants to know, Mark, if Israel attacks Iran, and his assumption, as is mine, that Israel will necessarily attack Iran, what are going to be the repercussions here in the United States? What can police officers and citizens expect to see from the Hezbollah and Hamas cells in operation in the U.S.?
As usual, Jim has good questions, and since 9/11, we have been working together, Israeli law enforcement and American law enforcement, in doing all we can to thwart and prevent terror attacks. I think that over the years, since 9/11, many U.S. law enforcements, not enough, but many, have been trained. They've been taught how to, and yes, I'm going to say the word even though it's not common practice in the U.S., you have to know how to profile your enemy. You have to know how to understand your enemy. Sometimes you have to know how to behave like your enemy. And I do believe, by what we've seen take place since the tragic murder of the United States ambassador to Libya, that this issue of radicalism, of attacking soft targets, is going to escalate. We've seen it happen in France. We've seen it happen in other countries. We've seen it happen in Bulgaria a month and a half ago. It just happens too often. And what I can request and ask of my friends in the law enforcement in the United States is, you have to be vigilant. You have to look, and you have to watch, and you have to find out what's going on. Don't be reactive, be proactive.
Jim, you heard all that, Jim?
Yeah, Tom, I did get all that. I know there's a little bit of a back and forth today. Tom, I got to cut you short. I just wanted to call in, say keep up the good job, and thank you, Mark, for calling and talking to us all.
All right, Jim had to go. I think he's on the job right now, Mark. Mark's admonition, obviously, to the law enforcement is to keep vigilant.
Tom?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to, we spoke, Jim asked as well about Israel attacking Iran. If I remember clearly, in 1967, Israel really had no choice but to do a preemptive strike against some of our neighbors, because we knew that if we didn't do it, we would have to be reactive, and the consequences could have been very, very difficult for Israel at the time. I think today there are a few in government here that know what Israel's plans are. I think that the general public doesn't have a clue. I think that all the blogs that we see and the different articles coming out about what will happen and how will happen is at the moment, it's all far-fetched fiction. because no one really knows. And yes, if Israel had a military exercise this week, it's nothing uncommon in Israel. Just, I must be honest, it's nothing uncommon. We have these things all the time. It's just that this time it made international news for good reason. And the good reason being is that Iran at the moment is pouring troops and weapons into Syria. And the simple reason for that is that they need to get to Syria in order to attack us. We are not blind. We are not as we were in 73, and we are certainly not as we were in 1967. I think today, in a modern era of technology, I'm not going to go into great detail, but just as we are talking to each other from across the pond, and more, communications takes place in a split second. And I think that even though Iran is continuously flying military personnel and quantities of weapons into Syria, going through Iraq, because they are controlling Iraq today since the US has left Iraq, I can tell you that even American open sources have said that the Iranians are sort of flooding Syria with all they can. So people shouldn't miss what's happening. Yes, things are extremely tense. We are watching. I think everybody's watching. I think the world is watching. I think that the biggest question that I as a civilian need to ask is, what's at stake here? Israel has been a friend and an ally of the United States forever. And I think that we need to know that we can watch our friends' backs, and we need to know that our friends need to watch our backs when we need to ask for that assistance. And I think that any peaceful solution is something that everybody wants, including the people of Iran and Syria and Lebanon and wherever else they may be, including the Israeli citizens. But I think that one must understand that if all else fails, and we certainly have been patient. I mean, we've had 10, 12,000 rockets and missiles fired at us from the Gaza Strip. We've had the untold amounts of suicide bombers, what you'd call in the States homicide bombers, which we've done a good job in protecting, thwarting these attacks in the last couple of years. We have had rockets fired and missiles fired from the Hezbollah, which is just another division of the Iranian military. I don't care what you call them. They're all under the same umbrella. You know, it doesn't matter what they call themselves. They are still one major terror group. The analysts can go and call them names and see their flags and understand their inner thoughts. To me, it doesn't really make a difference. A terrorist is a terrorist. So, you know, Tehran really, the Ayatollahs they're not hiding their actions. They're coming out openly and saying that they've got troops in Syria. This should be a warning to the West. This should be a warning to the United States. This should be a warning. I'm not talking politics, but this should be a wake-up call.
Yeah, Mark, let me ask you this. The average Israeli, what are there, 7 million citizens, 6 million Jews, and 1 million other in Israel right now, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, the average person, and not the Israeli Arab, and I guess it would be interesting to ask them too. You walk down Tel Aviv, you're walking along the beach, and you stop and you say, hey, do you guys think that we are going to attack Iran before the November 6th presidential election in the United States? What would be the answer from the average Israeli?
Okay, if you're going to ask the average Jewish Israeli,
yes,
you're going to have from each person 6 different answers. If you're going to ask the average Arab Israeli, they're going to say they don't want an attack either way. They live a good life, they have a good income, they work, everybody is happy. If you ask the people living in the Palestinian territories, they are probably going to say to you from Judea and Samaria areas that, you know, well, we'll see what happens when it happens. If you ask the people living in Gaza for the vast majority, and I'm speculating, okay, they would say, we want Iran to attack and obliviate Israel off the map. They don't seem to understand, or they do, but they don't care. that they are pretty much on that very map.
Yeah, I don't quite understand how that works, but...
Well, I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. I still can't.
So the country's mixed, divided, confused on the issue. And I'll tell you what, this morning, and at the beginning of our show, we showed a commercial that's now running only in Florida. It's a 30-second spot put together by some group, Secure America Now, I think. And it's Benjamin Netanyahu, your prime minister, basically saying, from the other day, his speech, I mean, how long do we have to wait for a red line, and what are we waiting for?
I'm very happy that I'm not a politician. The responsibility of the Israeli government today, including our Prime Minister, is extremely great. I don't know how our decision makers can sleep at night, to be honest with you. It is an extremely pressing or stressing situation, and I can tell you that when the media exploded with all this red line, are you familiar with the red line?
Yeah, sure, yeah, we've been covering it, yeah.
Well, I'm colorblind, so I can tell the difference,
okay.
But I think that the red line's been passed a long time ago, because what's happened in retrospect, and I say this with seriousness, but I say it in a way that people are so complacent that they probably wouldn't, the general public is so complacent that they wouldn't really understand what I'm trying to get to. So I will try my best to explain this. Because since 2005, 6 years, over 6 years, we've had rocket fire, missile fire coming in from Gaza into our southern cities in Israel, and we've become such a protected area with bomb shelters and kids running into protected areas on
we were
a
there,
daily
Mark.
basis.
Mark, we were in Sderot with you and went into those bomb shelters. Yep.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that people think that the same complacency, the same lack of awareness, the same, I'm going to go and be a little bit rude, the same selfish perspective that people have, that yes, it's okay to fire missiles against an Israeli civilian population, is sick, because when the Hezbollah or Iran or Syria starts to fire chemical weapons, God forbid, it's a different ballgame. Not that the firing of Qassam rockets is any better. I would have stopped it a long time ago if I was in the position to do that. Who are we trying to please here?
Mark, let me interject one thing. While we were with you in February, we went to a one family event, and there was that 18-year-old boy, that young kid, who had so much life and vitality in him as he spoke at the podium. And he had
his name is Nati. He lost his leg in a Qassam rocket attack in Beersheba.
Yep, he was speaking at the podium as just a exuberant 18-year-old, and if you look carefully, his leg was missing. And he told the story of dodging one of those non-guided missiles, and it hit and blew off his leg. So yeah, there is loss of limb and property and life with these goofy Qassam missiles. But if Syria starts, or Hezbollah starts sending the guided missiles with nasty stuff inside of them, I know you guys are ready. I know everybody has a gas mask. They're all trained to go to certain places, and there's going to be a response. Crazy stuff. Hang on. Somebody's telling me something or other. I can't understand that. Oh, look at this. Okay, hang on. I got a message coming in.
Mark, I thought that was interesting. When you said what was loaded inside the payload of these bombs was, and when we took them apart and put them in our hands, and you see the payload, it's nothing but bolts and washers and things like that to just maim and kill. It has nothing to do with destroying buildings.
Mark, I'm going to take, we got one quick caller here too, Mark. So let's take, is it Mom on the line? But one quick call. I got to wrap this up soon, but somebody wanted to share a statement here. Hello, Mom, is it? Mom?
Call me Mom.
Mom?
Hey, Mom, what's up? You're out with Tom Trento, Mark Kohlberg. Got to make it quick. What's your thought?
My thought is, last week, America surrendered to the Islamic Jihad. Well, America didn't. Mr. Obama did it for us. I have questions about the legality of that. But as far as the OIC has been working on semantic jihad for many, many years, as far as the UN is concerned, legally, America no longer exists. It is now part of a sovereign nation. It is now under the auspices of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so Israel needs to do what they need to do and not count on America right now, because America doesn't even know that we surrendered.
All right, Mom, thank you very much for your statement, Mark. I'll repeat it for you. She wants to be referred to as Mom. It's fine with us. Mom, our Mom. She basically said that the United States in the past couple of weeks, basically the administration, has surrendered to the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, particularly on the free speech issue. And this is so large in the global community and the OIC that she's telling you, Mark Kohlberg, you and the nation of Israel must do what you have to do. Do not count on the United States of America.
Tom, I promise that I'm not going to get into politics, but I am going to, with your permission, maybe just say goodbye and wish you guys all the best for the elections. It's certainly in the news everywhere, all day, every day here in Israel. But our Chief of Staff, the IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant Benny Gantz, doesn't talk much. And just on the eve of the Jewish New Year, he handed all the military correspondents, the press corps that deal with the military in Israel, a very small gift. And it was the Hebrew edition of the American writer Richard David Bach's book called There's No Such Place as Far Away.
Okay, we will check that out, and we do have to go right now, Mark. There's no such place as far away. Can somebody write that down? What's the name of the author?
Richard David Bach, B-A-C-H.
CJ, if you can get that, Richard David Bach. There's no such place as far away. We're gonna end on a mysterious note because I'm very concerned, but the clock is ticking here. We have to wrap it up. Mark Kohlberg, our good friend in Israel, thank you very, very much for your insights, your thoughts, your service to your country and your service. I know that you have a role with your country if something breaks out. We will be there to assist you for sure. This is Tom Trento signing off on behalf of the Trento Vision team on the 20th of September 2012. 47 days, ladies and gentlemen, until the world changes. You help make a change for the better. See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Your host, Tom Trento, is an activist street fighter with earned degrees in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy. To reach Tom, call 561-319-5533, 561-319-5533, or email him at tom@trentovision.com. Tune in again weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.